Hey everyone, my name is Austin, and welcome back to another episode of the Unfiltered Faith Podcast. If this is your first time tuning in, I'm so glad you're here, and if you've been here before, welcome back. This one's for the romantics, the skeptics, and everyone in between. We're talking about how the stories we see on screen, in books, and social media shape the way we view romance and marriage. From fairy tales to filters, we're constantly being shown a version of love that may or may not hold up in real life. And today we're digging into that. What's fantasy, what's truth, and what we wish we knew before stepping into long-term love. Whether you're single, married, somewhere in between, or even reconsidering what love means to you, there's something here for you. But before we jump into today's conversation, I've invited two really awesome friends of mine for this episode. They bring not only personal insight, but also lived experience that I think a lot of you will connect with. So I'll let them introduce themselves and how they met, and then we'll dive into our discussion today.
Well, hey y'all, super excited to be here. And Austin, thank you for inviting us and having us on this podcast. It's an excitement. So my name is Cole, and I have my lovely bride with me, Kassidy. The the reason that I'm able to do most anything outside of Jesus and God making it possible in the practical world, she's a rock star. I call her Superwoman all the time. I'm gonna let Cassidy share that story. It's funny you ask because we disagree on how we met, but she's always right. So hear her side of it.
Well, we met through mutual friends back in high school. Well, I was still in high school. Just graduated and you're in college. Um, but
Call me out like that.
our friend groups went bowling. Or do I think it's kayaking? I don't remember. One of the two.
For the record, my story is bowling, so it looks like she
Okay.
agrees with me.
Yeah. No, maybe I do. We went either bouldering or kayaking, and at the time, we were seeing other people, and just it wasn't a thing. And a couple years later, probably about 5 years later,
Mhm.
um, we he posted some inspirational videos on Instagram. It was during the time of COVID, so it was already a really hard time. And so I had just responded to one. Just my
Oh, time out. That was the kind way of saying it. She slid into my DMs. No big deal.
I had responded to one, and um, then from there we just kept talking, and
The rest is history.
Man, I love that. It's always so fascinating to hear how different people's love stories begin. Some are sweet and slow, some are unexpected. So we grow up being told stories. Some are told in books, some in Disney movies, and before we know it, we start to build a blueprint of what love is supposed to look like. In your view, how have movies, books, and social media shaped our perception of romance and marriage?
I would say they almost have, and this is not statistical. I didn't do any research on this. I would say this is just from my own personal view and thought. I would say all of those sources have combined to affect marriages and romance in the modern world. I would say 90%. Like and I know that's super high, but I mean, the only movies that Cass and I not only movies, because every now and then she'll bite the bullet and she'll watch an action movie with me, not literally, but pun intended, you know what I'm saying? And she'll watch an action movie with me, but for the most part, we watch the rom-coms, and they're all the same storyline. 2 people fall in love, they break up, and they get back together. And it's just, and that's very vague. But when you're looking at the world and you're watching how people interact when it comes to dating and marriage, and it comes to seeking out finding somebody, um, I mean, I remember when dating apps got really big. I've seen multiple movies that now have dating apps as the main source of creating a relationship. And please hear me. I'm not saying dating apps are even bad. However, when we are then influenced by now we throw in music and we throw in movies with one night stands, and we like the music, my Anaconda Don't, and we throw in music like um things that are all sexual. What we see is that just takes over our mind subconsciously, and then we go to Tinder, and Tinder is no longer a dating app, it's a hookup app. And, so dude, I just think all in all, again, not statistical. I'm not saying I know it all. I didn't do the research, but personally, I think it affects 90% of all relationships. I mean, heck, you just heard from Kassidy where we met.
Mhm.
Mutual friends, yes, but then how did the initial dating conversation start? All through Instagram, social media. And so, I just think if you're not careful to let God, to let the Holy Spirit kinda guide those through watching movies, and I say it just, what's the word I'm looking for? Inevitable that it shapes your relationship. I don't know, what's your thoughts, hon? What do you think?
I think kind of from the opposite side of, like, Hallmark movies and just, like, the perfect love story. I like watching those anyways, so, I think we kinda paint not a fake picture 'cause there are lots of Hallmark moments, like, in marriage and stuff, and it's good, but, it doesn't show the tough stuff.
Have you ever caught yourself comparing your relationship to something from a movie or a social media post?
I would say previously, before Cassidy, yes, previous relationships. But with my wife, no. We made it a point early to center our relationship on Jesus and not what social media and movies say. And now don't get me wrong, there's times where we see some things in movies and we're like, "Oh, that'd be really cool." "Hey, that'd be really fun." Or "That's not realistic. That's not how people fight." Or whatever it may be. But for the most part, man, the grass isn't greener on the other side. It's greener where you water it. And so Cassidy and I just made a declaration to each other, a vow to each other that we're gonna water our own grass and we're gonna watch it grow and we're gonna trim it and we're gonna keep with it. And so yeah, I don't know. There's that for me.
So once we've absorbed all of those love story blueprints, we start to carry them into real relationships, and sometimes that's where the friction starts. What are some of the key differences you've noticed between the romantic fantasy and the real experiences of love and marriage?
Man, some key differences between romantic fantasies and realistic marriages. I think, man, it's a deep question. It's a good question.
So kind of what you were going off earlier about the hard stuff and what people don't talk about, because oftentimes the movies don't talk about the hard stuff. So kind of going off of that, like expectations versus reality.
I think okay, yeah, yeah, no, that's good. Some differences. We see a lot of times in the movies, the guy will just get in his car and leave. Or girl. One side just leaves, leaves the conversation.
Mm.
Things get hard, and all of a sudden it's game over. Man, I saw this quote: "Marriage is hard, divorce is hard. Choose your heart." What heart are you gonna go with? And I know for a fact that marriage has a greater dividend, um, in all aspects of your life. And so I think in what difference have I seen in comparing and contrasting? Man, when things get hard, we can't just leave. We can't just say, "All right, see you next time." Let's sit and talk about it. And I'll share on our behalf actually. Cassidy is a processor. I am a speak now in the moment kind of person. And so something that we've had to work on is this idea behind she needs some time to think. Um, I can't just spring something on her, some of my feelings, and expect her to have a response right away. There's a period that she needs to think. That's not time for her to get in the car and leave. That's not time for me to walk away in anger because she's not answering me right away. It's time for her to sit and process, and it's time for me to understand that she needs time to process. So I would say that's one difference, which granted, movies don't have the time to do that, right? Because they have a time frame they have to stick with. But I think there's a better way to depict it that not to just leave when things get hard. I don't know. What's your thoughts? What do you think?
And, it's easy to get up in the car and we like the movies show that. Um, So I would say, well, we need more movies showing good communication and healthy arguing, I think, and how to healthily communicate, especially in front of your kids, in front of, like, there's all scenarios, you know? Um,
Yeah, and then I wanna build off what you just said again, that I think, I like the term, I think Francis Chan says, and I'm sure other people say it too, but to fight well.
Mhm.
There's a way to fight well, and like you're saying in front of your kids, like, they need to see how to healthily handle arguments because no two people are perfect in a marriage. Something's gonna come up. How do you handle it?
So you brought up a really good point about healthy arguing. What would you say that looks like?
Yeah, I love that answer, or that question. Um, Man, I think healthy arguing is understanding you you are there for the other person. If both people in the conversation understand that you're for the other person, no person is right, but they're not wrong either. And I think you just understand that everyone has a different perspective. For example, if Cassidy and I disagree on something, whatever it is, fill in the blank, make up a scenario that you want to right now. Whoever's listening, make something up. But if I ever come at it that I am 100% right and don't give her a chance to give the perspective, that is not fair. And that is not fair fighting. This is a silly example. If Cassidy comes to me and tells me that the sky is green and I sit there and argue with her that no, it's blue, I've already lost. Rather than telling her it's blue, if she really thinks it's green, I'm never going to win. But if I start asking her questions, well, why do you think it's green? What shade of green do you think it looks like? We might come to this conclusion that she's the rarest female that's colorblind. And all of a sudden the blues look green to her. Like instead of automatically saying, no, I'm right, give the other person a chance and ask questions. So I hope that answers the question. I think that is just one way that you can fight fair and fight well.
So let's shift to something more personal because no matter how many books or podcasts we listen to, nothing really prepares us for marriage like actually being in it. What's something you wish you knew about marriage before you got married? Something you had to learn the hard way or figure out as a couple?
I'm never gonna change her, but I can change. And so I think if I would have been told and known, don't go into a marriage trying to change your partner to fit your agenda to better build the marriage as a whole. I think that would have helped me early on because there were just some things I alluded to it earlier with her idea of processing. It made me so angry because I didn't know how someone couldn't talk about something right away. I was trying to change her. No, talk about it now. Let's talk now. I want to talk now. That was very ignorant of me. Long answer, make it short. You're never gonna change the person.
I would say learning to work with 2 schedules, um, and learning to give each other time to do the things we enjoy as individuals, because it is very hard working with 2 scheduling things around 2 different schedules. I mean, you have to work together on that, and, also that it's important you do things together, but also have your time for your individual time, your hobbies. Um, I think balancing that is difficult, but we've learned to balance it well, I feel like.
So kind of bouncing off of what Cass was just saying, that we would make time for each other's hobbies, make time for each other's schedules. But I want to give you some practical advice on what that looks like. It boils down to self-control. Bottom line, no questions asked. Can you have enough self-control to put your needs aside to take care of the person that you vowed to, that you would love and cherish forever? To be there together in sickness and in health, for richer or for poor, till death do you part. Can you put yourself aside to do that? Kind of when following Christ, he has this terminology to die to yourself. In marriage, it's the same thing. You have to die to yourself in a new way. And so I think just bouncing off what you were saying, Cass, that making room for each other's hobbies and your self-control to die to yourself.
So let's talk about the numbers for a moment. A study by the University of Michigan found that about 50% of marriages end in divorce. That statistic can feel heavy, but I also think it opens the door to understanding what really makes a relationship last. What do you think are some of the biggest factors that lead to a successful marriage? And on the other side, what do you think leads to the breakdown of a marriage.
When we were getting premarital counseling, our premarital counselor asked us, what are some scriptures we could use in your wedding? What are your favorite scriptures? What do you like? Man, everyone talks about having a Proverbs 31 woman. So everyone talks about having a Proverbs 31 woman. Just talking about she opens her arms to the poor, extends her hands to the needy. She makes linen garments and sells them. She works hard, supplies the merchants with sashes. She's clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. She speaks with wisdom. Faithful instruction is on her tongue. She watches over the affairs of her household. You keep going on and on. Many women do noble things, but this Proverbs 31 woman surpasses them all. Uh, and you keep going. Like Proverbs 31 is all about this woman that everyone wants to marry. When I told our premarital counselor, I said, man, that's great. And I hope she's like that. But I said, I want to marry a Galatians 5:22 woman. And a Galatians 5:22 woman is this: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. It's the fruit of the Spirit. And so what leads to a healthy marriage? Practicing the fruit of the Spirit. Can you choose love when it's hard? Can you live in peace when it's in the midst of chaos? Can you be joyful when times are hard? Can you be patient when he isn't giving you what you want? Can you be kind together to the waitress when they forgot your order for the third time? Can you be gentle with your kids when they are driving you up a wall? Can you be gentle with your spouse? I'm just going to throw this in there because I am a pastor. Gentleness is not gender specific, it's gender neutral. So, fellas, listen up. Can you be gentle to your wife when things are hard? Can you practice self-control in the times that, man, I could keep going on and on. And so Proverbs 31, great. But man, I truly believe that if you marry and become a Galatians 5:22 person, that will lead to the success of a healthy marriage. What are your thoughts, honey?
I would say, again, it goes back to, like we talked about in the beginning, with communication, open communication about everything. Finances being a big one, which also leads into that can be a destruction. Finances, it's a hard thing. But yeah, open communication just about your day, your, again, finances, and um, how each other's feeling. And we can't read each other's minds, so just being open about anything and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can attest to that. When we first got married, I just remember Cass calling me, "Hey, I just want you to know I just got gas. Thanks for letting me know." Like it didn't register that she's not telling me that she just got gas in her car because some no random reason. That's just how important communication is to her. She just wants me to be on the in and to the know of everything that she's doing, just out of health, out of healthy relationship. And so I've learned. It took me a long time, but I've learned, and still learning, uh,
Me too.
how to communicate those things. But yeah, no, that's good. And I think, man, going to the other side of that. So yeah, going on the other side of that, of what can lead to the downfall of a marriage. I'm gonna go back to the analogy I used earlier. Um, not watering the grass just because it's hard. You don't want to turn the hose on and water your grass. Or here's another analogy that I really like. Cass and I use this when we premarital counsel people. Um, Marriage is like getting in a car together for a long road trip, and there is no such thing as taking exits. You cannot exit. You can stop, you can pull over, you can invite people to join in the car with you for help, but you cannot exit and leave. And it's just a journey, man. It's a journey. You got to do it together and work it out together. And sometimes she might go to the back seat because she's tired of the way that I smell and the way that I talk or the way that I look, or she's getting tired of this and this and that, whatever. Um, but she's still in the same car, and you stay married and you work on it and you talk it out. I just think people exit too fast and too soon.
Okay to get help too and seek other people for this, because it's very easy to just, not share any struggles with anyone and just keep it between you two. But it's okay to let outside people in and pour into your marriage. That's super healthy and important. Even if you're not going through anything, major, just communicating with someone about marriage.
This girl's preaching now. Get her a mic. Oh, wait, she has one. Keep going.
That's all I have to say.
Yes, oh, good.
Wow. Do you think couples are prepared for conflict resolution when they enter marriage?
Absolutely not. I don't think you ever can be, other than knowing that it's an okay part of marriage. Know that it happens and it's okay. Don't quit there. And you just learn and grow and go as you go. So it's okay not to be ready for it because you can't be. Just grow with it.
So you mentioned something earlier about outside influences and how it can affect the marriage. What role do outside influences like family, finances, and mental health play in this?
Yeah, you can get some really unhealthy advice from some people. So, definitely be wise about, like, who you go to and, who you're allowing to pour into your marriage, and I would also suggest seeking older, wiser counsel.
Yeah, I think a big part of that is the fact of the matter is Cassidy's parents love her more than me. It's not a bad thing. And so if Cassidy goes to her parents because she doesn't like the way that I don't know how to use tools and I don't know how to build a house and it upsets her and I'm not good enough at it and she keeps going to her parents about that, they're gonna build up these question marks about who I am. If we have a fallout in our marriage and I go to my parents, who are my parents gonna side with? Me. They raised me for 28 years now, almost 29, and so, that's not a bad thing. It's a knowing who's pouring into your marriage, and so we made it a point early on, we're not gonna go to our parents with our struggles. Not that we don't have them. We're gonna go to outside influences that, are close to us. They're our friends, but they're gonna tell us not necessarily what we wanna hear. They're gonna tell us the capital T truth and the truth. Um, "Cole, you were in the wrong." "Bro, how could you say that? Because I love you and I want you to get better." "Yeah, Cassidy, I don't think you should have said that." "Yeah, but he really" "No, no, no, Cassidy, you shouldn't have said that to him." And so it's this idea of, like you were saying, Cass, who's pouring into your marriage, is it's just important. It's just so important.
So let's go back to the love story narrative for a moment. In so many movies and books, the story ends with the wedding. Marriage is the final destination, the happy ending. But in real life, that's just the beginning of a very real, evolving journey. Why do you think marriage is portrayed as the ultimate goal in so many stories?
No matter who you are, no matter how introverted, extroverted, atheist, agnostic, believer in Jesus, or Buddhist, it doesn't matter what your background is. You are wired for community. You are wired to be with somebody. And lastly, you are wired to be known deeply. And in marriage, that's what happens. You create this bond emotionally. You create the bond physically, intimately, spiritually. You just create such a strong bond that you're known so intimately, and everybody desires that. I got the biggest introvert shaking their head no at me, thinking I have no clue what I'm talking about. Do the studies. Do the psychological studies. We are wired to be known deeply. And so I think, and I know that that's why marriage is so heightened, so escalated. And when we turn to 1 Corinthians chapter 7, Paul tells us that not everyone's to be married, and not everyone wants to hear that. I have said that to many single people, and they get upset that, yeah, but I want somebody. I know you do, but that might not be God's plan for you. And it's so hard to want to accept that because we want to be known deeply. And so let's cross a different border here and well, if we're supposed to be known so deeply, then why is marriage not in the cards for everybody on earth? Because you could be known deeply without marriage. I got some best friends that know everything about me. Cassidy has some best friends that know everything about her. And so you can be known deeply without being in a marriage. And so in my mind, psychologically and just looking at the world, I believe that's why marriage is so seen as the end goal, so heightened and so put on a pedestal, if you will.
Mhm. So how about those who choose not to get married? Do you think this narrative impacts them? What would their definition of the ultimate goal be?
Man, we're called in Matthew 28 to go and make disciples of all nations. We are to baptize them in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and we are to obey the laws of Jesus Christ. And so I think that right there is every single person on earth's main end goal. If you're not going and making disciples of all nations, and if you're not baptizing people in the name of Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and if you're not obeying the laws of Jesus Christ, then you're missing your end goal. And you're creating your own end goal that when you don't make it, there's this expectation of yourself, and then we have low self-esteem because we don't make it. The end goal's already been set for us. The prize has already been set for us. It's all right there before us. We just have to do it. And so what Paul is saying in 1 Corinthians chapter 7 is uh, if we were not called to be married, what it means is that you can do God's work, that you can bring the kingdom of heaven here on earth better than you could married. Full transparency, if I was a single guy, I would not be good at spreading the gospel. I grew up with lustful eyes. I grew up with a lustful mind. And if I didn't have someone like Kassidy to help hold me accountable, I could be preaching the gospel, yes, but I'd be going back home in closed doors, and those thoughts would creep in my mind. But because I have Kassidy to hold me accountable, that's why I believe wholeheartedly. That's why God gave me a counterpart. He gave me Kassidy from the beginning, is because to do the gospel, to spread the gospel on my own as a single human being, I don't think I would have been as successful as I am spreading the gospel with Kassidy by my side. And so the whole end goal should be spread the gospel of Jesus Christ, period. Can you do that better single, or can you do it better married?
Wow, that was so good. If you're listening and finding pieces of your own story in what we've shared today, whether it's moments of joy, confusion, heartbreak, or growth, know this: you're not alone. Love is really simple, and the path through it isn't a one-size-fits-all. Maybe you're just starting to explore what love means to you. Maybe you're healing from something that didn't turn out the way you hoped. Or maybe you're in the quiet work of deepening a long-term relationship. Wherever you are, your experiences are valid. Your questions are welcome, and your journey matters more than any perfect story ever could. I just wanted to give a huge thank you to Cole and Cassidy for sitting down and chatting for a bit, and thank you to you guys for sitting and listening. If this episode spoke to you, please share it with a friend, leave a review, or tag us on social media. Until next time, keep seeking those fresh perspectives and keep having those unfiltered conversations to better understand the world around us.